Hello there, and welcome back to this Java development course. So, last time we went over numeric data types, and you had some homework to do. Your job was to create 6 variables, each of a different numeric data type that we went over, assign them just some random values, and then print the sum of those values. So here's essentially what you should have done. So I have 6 variables of type byte, short, int, long, float, and double, and I assigned each of them their respective types of data. So for here, integers, here just with decimal points. And then I create a double sum, put the sum of those variables into the double sum, and then print the sum. So we can now run this application. Run, not ruin. And we get 121.1, which is the correct amount. So that is essentially what we should have done. What was also acceptable was just doing, instead of doing sum, we can just do like this without sum. That would have also been acceptable. Either way, it works. So, yeah. Without further ado then, if you got it good, if not, try to understand what this code does, and you'll be fine. So, other than that then, let's get into today's lesson. All right, so today we're going to be going over non-numeric data types. So all the other data types, there are only two, booleans and characters. First of all, let's go to rename our classes here. So we're going to do refactor, rename to numeric variable types, numeric, just so we can stay organized. And then here as well, refactor, rename, numeric variable types, homework, and finish up. And there we go. Okay, so now let's go ahead and create a new class. We're going to do new class. We could also just do class up here. So we're going to do new class. And it's going to be non-numeric data types. There we go. Let's go ahead and actually create the main method as well, and let's finish. All right, there we go. So there are two non-numeric data types that we need to go over. So there are a comment. Remember, this is a comment, just something that is ignored by the compiler. There are what are there? Right, booleans. Forgot what type of data there was. Okay, booleans and characters. There we go. Okay, so booleans are essentially just true or false, and characters are just letters. So I know that isn't nearly enough to understand, but so let's go over them together. So first of all, let's go over booleans. So booleans are created using the boolean keyword. So it's of type boolean. Assign it a name, just like an integer. Boolean A is equal to and true. So we have a keyword true from a lowercase letter. And then Boolean B equals false. And that false is another keyword from a lowercase letter as well. So we have two separate variables now of type Boolean, true and false. We can now go ahead and print them. System out println A, and then system out println B. There we go. And now let's run this application. There we go. We have true and false. So true and false are actually pretty important in computer science, since at a very low level, what computers actually do is they have two different states. So it's called Boolean logic, essentially. So there are two different states in computers. So there's true and false, on or off, or 1 and 0. It doesn't matter exactly what you call them. They're just two possible states. It's actually, there's a number system called binary, which is based on that. We've already went over it a little bit. So binary is essentially just a number system which works to create, how can I say this? It works on the notion that there are only two possible numbers. So 0 and 1, right? And this is useful for computers because in computers, we actually have on or off. So electrical signals on or off. And then from there, we can perform Boolean logic. So for example, let's say that we have on and off, and then, on and off. So that's going to be 1 and 0. So then we can just simply add them, and it's going to be 1. So 1 plus 0 is 1. So there we go. If we have on and on, we can then add them as well, and that's going to be 2. So that's just essentially a very basic sort of impractical example of how it works. But yeah, so that's generally Booleans. For now, all you really need to know is that there are true and false. Later on, when we go over the Boolean modifiers, logical modifiers, as well as if-else statements, which we'll go over very soon, we're gonna get a little bit more into Booleans and how they work and how useful they are actually in coding. But for now, just know that they are true and false, and that's really all there is to Booleans. So without further ado, then, let's go over chars. Okay, so what are characters? So characters are essentially letters. So we can create them using the char keyword, so a data type called, a variable called a of type char, and we assign them a value using single quotation marks. So let's just say a. All right, there we go. Okay, so now we have a variable of type character with the name a, and we assign it a character a. So pretty simple. We can now print this character, system.out.println a. There we go. And so now we can run this application, and we get a printed. So now we can actually do a h, and we get an error. So why do we get an error? Well, because a character is, by definition, only one character. So we can't have multiple characters. So just one. So we can only hold one character. I really don't know how else to explain it. So AI, no. A, yes. That's actually just one character, not multiple characters. There actually is a different data type if you want to store sentences. There actually is a string data type, which actually isn't primitive. But we'll go over strings in more detail in a future lesson, and we'll actually have a lesson that will purely be dedicated to strings and how they work and what we can do with them. But for now, this is a character. Now, the important thing to understand with a character is that they're all represented in Java by different numbers. So in this case, let's say we have a. We can cast it to int. So we can do a int a. There we go. Okay, so what will this do? So we have a character a, so that's all stay the same, and we assign it a character a. Then we print the integer representation of a. So now if we run this application, we get 97. So that means that in Java, 97 means a. So if we can actually go and actually add 97 to it, we of course have to, or actually we don't even need to cast it. We can just do now a. There we go. And if we run this, we get a. Perfect. So what's important to understand is that all characters in Java have an integer representation or numeric representation of the characters themselves. But that really isn't all too useful to know because you're really not going to be working with it that much, but just know that it does actually exist. So that is essentially how we work with characters. Now, let's assign you some homework. All right, so before I assign you some homework, actually, we're going to go over one last thing. So let's say we have a char a equals a, and then we have a Boolean t equals true. Let's say true. We can actually combine them. We can do a plus t. And now, let's actually, yeah, we have to do right here, insert double quotation marks. So now, if we actually run this, we get a true. We actually put a space here. So what these quotation marks actually do is it creates a new string. So inside here, we could actually put anything. And we will go over strings, as I already said. But for now, just understand that we can create strings by doing this. And so by doing that, we can actually combine things. So we can do a plus t plus, and then we can do, let's just say, I don't know, a space, and then plus, let's just say, a true sentence. Let's say like that. Okay? And so now if we run this, a true sentence. So that's essentially how we can combine different characters and Booleans together. Okay, now for homework. Your job is to create 2 Booleans and 2 characters, assign them some values. I don't really care which values you assign it to them. Just they have to be, you know, of type character and Boolean. Respectively, and your job is to print so a character and then a Boolean and then a character and a Boolean all on one line. So it's a pretty simple homework. Or actually, no, it's pretty simple homework. We went over everything that you need to know for it in this lesson. So yeah, it shouldn't be too hard. Either way, I wish you luck, and I'll see you next time. Till soon.